6 league titles, 8 FA Cups, 9 international honours, more than the likes of Man United, Arsenal, PSG and many others. Like it or not, Chelsea are one of the biggest clubs in world football. However, having just seen record-breaking transfer windows, the Blues find themselves down in 10th with just 2 wins from their last 14 Premier League matches. Yet again, it's time for me to talk about Chelsea, and more importantly Graham Potter. This is why I don't think that Graham Potter should be sacked. If we take a look back just 2 decades ago, we can see a Chelsea side which had been purchased for just £1 by Ken Bates had completely transformed under his ownership and was now a side ready to blossom into a powerhouse, having seen year after year of challenging for the Champions League. And of course, in 2003, exactly that would happen. Roman Abramovich bought the side, instantly wiping it of all debt, and over the next 19 years we saw Chelsea enjoy an incredible spell of success. More importantly though, we saw a truly unbelievable amount of change in the dugout at Stamford Bridge. Between 2003 and 2020, Chelsea changed managers 16 different times, with Abramovich hiring and firing at a rate 2 times faster than in the 40 years before he arrived in West London. Although, in his defence, it did work. Well, for the first 14 years at least. After years of success, Antonio Conte's Chelsea lifted the Premier League in 2017, where they arguably looked in the strongest position of all time, having won 2 of the last 3 titles. Legends like Ferguson and Wenger had either retired or were about to, which left Chelsea in an incredible position to take over as the most successful team in the Prem over the next few years. Except, things didn't quite work out like that. A year later and Conte would be gone, before Sarri, Lampard and Tuchel were all able to manage just 1 full season in the job, leading to Graham Potter being hired by new owners Todd Boehly and co. after Abramovich had been forced out due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And since his arrival, things have only gotten worse for Chelsea, where after spending almost £540 million in 1 season, the Blues find themselves down in 10th as I mentioned earlier, and are as close to relegation as they are to the top 4, with a large majority of their fans, or at least the most vocal of them, calling for Potter to be sacked. But I think that would be the wrong decision. You see, a lot of the hate aimed at Potter right now isn't even really towards him, and more down to 2 other departures, which meant that anybody who took the role would never really have been made welcome. And those exits were Thomas Tuchel and Roman Abramovich. I guess it's not massively surprising that Chelsea fans love Abramovich, with the Russian billionaire having taken them from a somewhat precarious situation in the early 2000s to European champions twice in less than 2 decades since he joined the club, with Thomas Tuchel of course being the man to bring them that second success. But one thing the Stamford Bridge faithful forget to mention is that things really weren't going that great for them towards the end of Abramovich's spell in charge. Following the conclusion of last campaign, the Blues had officially entered their biggest league title drought since the start of the millennium, with poor transfer business made by the club being something I've already covered in a previous video which will be linked in the description. But to summarise, ever since the departure of Antonio Conte, Chelsea's board failed to really invest in any manager significantly, which prevented them from succeeding before they'd be sacked, which was justified through poor results. All of this got worse and worse until in May last year Todd Boehly took over, inheriting a squad with just 1 natural centre half and an ageing team in desperate need of a revamp. And so, a revamp is exactly what happened. As I mentioned earlier, over the course of this season, over £500 million has been spent on this squad, something we often see those wanting Potter out mentioning. Now, do I think Tuchel should have been sacked? Probably not. But at the same time, I also don't think that Potter should be sacked, which is why it makes no sense to me seeing people calling for the Englishman's head and wanting Tuchel to return. Now of course, most Chelsea fans haven't said that, but in my opinion they still have been unfair on Graham Potter, which comes from the big reasons I spoke about earlier. I think a lot of the hate for Potter mainly comes from the fact that Chelsea loved Tuchel and Abramovich, whilst also failing to accept or admit the fact that things had gone stale in the 5 years before Abramovich left, and that change was necessary. And also you, stop writing that comment right now saying, oh well, if things had gone so stale, then why did Tuchel win the Champions League in 2021? Because if anything, that proves my point. The arrival of Tuchel was like fresh air to a stale system at Stamford Bridge, which then allowed their success, and by the time December had rolled round, the cracks were appearing again. As I mentioned, the German manager probably didn't deserve to be sacked, but neither does Potter, especially given the ripple effect that would be caused by a team known for sacking managers dismissing 2 in 1 season, just a matter of weeks after spending hundreds of millions. The fact is, transforming a side takes time, money and patience from fans, especially with a manager like Graham Potter, who's very tactically astute with principles that would take a while to gel into a team. Now that I've disproven a couple of the main arguments for sacking Potter, let me talk more about what I think the future has to hold for Chelsea and why I myself have been particularly vocal in my praise for both Boehly and Potter. In terms of what we can expect to see this season, I think it will take another couple of weeks for the side to get some results, with individual brilliance likely making the difference at first, before Potter can finally start making his impact on the squad. You see, if we take a look at how Chelsea got into this situation, you can see that straight after joining, Potter tried to get the side to play in his style, which seemed to be working at first. However, after a poor run of form, it was clear there was a lot more to do. Since the restart after the World Cup in particular, we've seen that everything at Chelsea has been stripped back, with the management team seemingly starting at the basics, which will give them something to build from. Just as a prediction based on patterns we generally see in football, and particularly in rebuilds, if Graham Potter manages to make it through the next month, which to be fair is a big if, I'd expect to see him slowly integrate aspects of his plans into this side, like players slotting into different positions in certain phases of play. And in my opinion, things will change for them soon, and I'd be surprised if they don't make Europe, although they may have to settle for the Conference League. From a more tactical point of view, Chelsea are slowly building a very good side with a manager who certainly knows how to build. I've personally always believed that people have been far too critical on Todd Boehly and Chelsea's transfer business, often looking far more at the price tag of a player rather than the actual quality of them and what they'll bring to the side. Most importantly, if you look at a lot of the players that have been left at the side or ones that have been brought in, you can see that the majority of the squad are capable of playing different positions and different roles, which is important given we know how much Potter likes to switch things up. Just so you guys can see what I mean, I've built this team which in my opinion would suit a Graham Potter style of play, or more so his in-game tendencies, and show why I think it will only be a matter of time before things start to look up at Stamford Bridge. For example, let's focus on this left-hand side of the pitch, where if we take what we know about Graham Potter, we can see why this process and evolution that Chelsea are on right now will work. Potter likes to create diamonds in build-up play, and so when playing out from the back, the profile of these players both complement each other and what he's trying to add to this side perfectly. Mudryk is a player who likes to receive the ball deep and then drive forward with it. Enzo is a player who tends to drift out to the left-hand channel when playing the ball out. Cucurella is a man more than comfortable with taking up space on the wing, and Mason Mount is somebody who's equally comfortable in deeper areas on the inside. As you can see, not only is this group of players able to stick in a diamond that we know Potter loves, but they're also able to swap positions depending on the situation, another thing that the former Brighton man will try to bring to Stamford Bridge. Of course, it will take a while for this to happen, but Chelsea have signed up for a process, which is why it doesn't make sense for Potter to be sacked before he can get this team to where they want to go. Football is a results-driven sport, and so if Potter needs to go more pragmatic or defensive to win a certain game, we may see this side shift into a mid-blocking defensive phases, making them a tougher team to beat. Now, I don't want to delve too deep into tactics, as that wasn't really my point here. I was more just explaining that what's happening right now is a process, and despite the fact that if you look at the results or even just performances, things do look terrible. In a situation like this, you have to read between the lines. Sacking Potter right now, after what in fairness has been an awful run of form, would only cause more damage than good. In the same way Arsenal gave time for Mikel Arteta, Chelsea have to give time to Graham Potter, and if anything, fans should be more understanding given he's already proven his tactical knowledge and ability in the same league for a side with a transfer budget a fraction of the one available to him at Stamford Bridge. Taking a look at this photo, you can see one massively important thing, which will prove why what I'm saying is correct. All we have to do is zoom in a bit, where as you can see it says to follow my Twitter, link in description. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and please like and subscribe if you're new. My next video is already lined up and it's actually an idea from the comment section, so please do comment what you want to see next, as chances are if it's a good idea, I'll do it and I'll credit you. But most importantly, enjoy your day.